Let's work on the transition between the lower pipe and the upper pipe, so we don't have a big gap where basically we could fall through. So how do we do this? Well, we could, for example, say this curve to this curve we could loft, but the problem is, as you can see, these endpoints don't really line up. So when we go to patch mode and then turn on loft and say from there to there, okay, we'll get something like this. So that's not really ideal. Let's say actually we would like to only cover a smaller area, so we do not want to go till the front. Well, in that case, actually what we could do is we can move this point maybe, let's say, to there. And we would have to do, that's a tricky part, however, do the same on the other side equally. And then you see we have some surfaces which we could unstitch and then delete. And then we would have a smaller, nicer segment. So let's do this unstitch. Let's delete them. And now we can go to here and remove them. Okay. And that, for example, could be nice. But you see, this is kind of like not really ideal way to work because we're building in some inaccuracies. So what actually in such a situation makes more sense? Would we just build this normally? So now we really know we have left and right a very equal surface. And we could, for example, make a new sketch, or in any of the sketches we have, simply create maybe a line. Let's say like this. This line I will move to there. Stop sketch. Because with this line now I can turn on the trim command and then trim actually these parts cleanly off. So they're gone. Okay, there. But now we actually can see there is some curvature happening at these sides, and maybe that's not really what I want. It seems here to the back this is nice and straight, but there becomes kind of curved. So this unfortunately in that case doesn't work out as desired. So what could we do otherwise? Well, we want to create a surface that actually sits on top of those pipes. And what we could do is we use the extrude command with the bigger profile below, extrude it up, and we can actually really extrude it bigger as needed. Let's also go and do two-sided, so we also do the same to the bottom area. Let's overbuild a little bit. Okay. And then the trick is how we, for example, can taper the surface. Oh, actually I noticed we can do this individually. That actually means we should only go one side. Okay, so because we can later extend the bottom area. And you see here with this slider I can taper the surface. And I try to taper it as much so that, for example, I extrude from this profile and the surface will start matching this upper profile there. And the main reason for that is when I will offset my surface later, then I can kind of like get the surface right in front of my pipes. Okay, maybe can do a little bit adjustments also by hand, numerically 20, and there. Let's maybe say it this way. Good. But this is not really ideal yet, because we can see that maybe in this area where my mouse is, it works. However, here it does not work very good. So the surface is a little bit twisted in a way I don't want to. So what could we do? Well, let's hide this one for a second, and I will go to a side view. This point of this sketch is actually here where it stops. That means I have a very long transition of this bend pipe, and maybe that's not as much as I need. So where is my blend curve? There's my blend curve. I made this into individual sketch, so I can simply select the point of my top rest, and now with seeing actually the surface, I press M, and for example I can move it down, bring it back to there, try to see where does it intersect the surface. There, click OK. Good. Okay, a little bit better. So this blend curve doesn't look very good. What can we do there? I have actually added another fit point, and now this fit point, for example, I can manipulate in object mode, and I try to find a position where this looks acceptable, like this. Okay, we're getting closer. So you see, this is actually a very simple design. We just work with arcs, etc., but you have to work also very clean, otherwise matching these different surfaces and also here the pipe is going to be a difficulty. But as I said in class, when you see something that looks very complicated, keep in mind it has to be manufactured some way. So very often bends or so are only going along two directions, or around one axis, if you want to say it this way. And this is then the way how you want to rebuild it when you learn how to do it. Okay, let's say this actually works pretty good. So we can now go to offset, click the surface, and then we offset it slowly to the inside. Maybe till there. Okay. Maybe a tick more if we want to. Let's see where actually it intersects the least. I will keep it more at the moment actually there, because I can see that this is okay, but not here. So I have actually, where's my top backrest? There. Let's go into edit mode. This point, I'll try to move just maybe a little bit. I have to do it the opposite way. I have to bring it back. There, see? Now I matched actually my profile to the backrest. So this is actually quite okay, that you try to sculpt something out and then you try to perfect the flows of everything. And you see actually we're getting pretty close to the design. So now I can continue working with my offset a little bit and bring this further back. There, I'm really close. And the difference we see there right now is maybe a fraction of some millimeters. This is not a machine block, this is a piece of furniture. If you really actually study the chair, you will see that the gaps are quite different across the whole backrest. So this is fine, perfect. This is pretty good actually. Nice. Okay, the first surface we created we can now remove because we don't need it anymore. We simply used it as a starting surface, but now we have the surface nicely where I want it to be. At the end here it sticks out a little bit too much. How do we fix this? Well, we can work with this fit point here and try to move it a little bit more, and something didn't work there, so that something broke. So let's see actually what that is. Double click, edit feature. This is quite interesting. What's this one? Mirror plane. Okay. Really made no sense. Okay. Missing target body. Okay. I have to slice actually this pipe. So hold on, let's go to there. Go to model and then split. You see that I built this pipe a little bit over the midpoint, because it seems like when we only build it to the midpoint and then mirror it, it does not really line up correctly. So I make it a little bit bigger so I could split it, and then this piece that we split off we simply remove. Then let's go back here, mirror command, now include please this one as well. Okay, and this one now is cranky as well, not a big deal. We reapply the tools in the body, and there we are, perfectly repaired. Again, that's another beauty of working parametrically, because we deal just with functions that do all the stuff for us, and we can always adjust them afterwards. Perfect. I would say at this position, or at this time, we're pretty good. And now it's time to style this a little bit. So to style it, we need to first extend these areas a little bit. So this one goes maybe a little bit down till there. Okay, that's good. And maybe we will also extend these two areas here a little bit. I overbuilt. So let's take a look at and push this one out and see what the different directions say. Natural, tangent. Okay, tangent goes straight. Well, tangent perpendicular. Yeah, okay. So we want actually natural in our case. And this one, but not as much, just a little bit. So I overbuilt, so I have enough material. We can now actually slice. To slice this, there are certain strategies. I could, for example, go into your top view and then try to see, well, what profile do I see and could I draw to cut out? And in class, I let you try that one, and you started seeing that's actually possible, but it's a tricky view to do that. We could maybe also try to draw something here that goes up and down and an angle, but again, this is also, while an easier view, tricky to do. To slice this backrest actually from the side is in this case the easiest way how to do it. So I will make a new sketch. Let's call this one maybe backrest trim side. And we can use a spline command there and there and there, and then here to the top. Or maybe I leave it at the moment this way, and I will make a line there. Okay, and maybe tangent the spline to the line. So when I now play with the line, you see how the curve updates a little bit. So now we can go ahead and try to find good positions for all our points. Try to get them as close as possible, for example. Maybe like this. Perfect. So now we can use the trim command again. Select this line, and then we trim off this whole area. And there's now our trimmed backrest. Perfect. See, pretty easy. This corner is sharp, And that's not a big deal. We will round this one actually later when this is a solid object. I could round this one inside the sketch. I would have to draw this accurately, but this is honestly way too much work, and then I have the rounding detail inside the sketch, which is kind of stiff. And if this is a solid object and I can round just a vertical edge, I can always change the fillet radius, I can delete the radius, or delete the fillet command, so I'm a lot more flexible with it. So perfect. Let's take a look at how everything grows up nicely. So it follows it and then it goes bigger. We could, for example, let's say if we want, maybe explore this curve being a little bit more inside the spline, and we get actually this interesting command. So you see, well, there it flipped back. The trimming command actually got confused about which side to remove, which side to keep. And you see there's some snapping happen. So it might actually then be easier, instead of dragging it, no, we can just use the move command. There again, a little bit of a confusion, not a big deal. We can always fix this later, or it does it automatically. Okay, perfect. Good. Now see, this is actually close to the way how the object is also built. So with this done, now we can actually think about what are the next steps we could do. So maybe let's give this a thickness to the inside, let's say maybe 3 millimeters negative. Or maybe 4, has a little bit more volume. Okay, good. Nice. And there, now you see there's this edge I was talking about, which, for example, now I could there and there give a radius and then round it. And there you are. See? Pretty easy. Good. Let's say we would like to have something cut out, maybe a slot or two holes. So we could, for example, do this from the front. But I will actually go back to here first, so where I have the surface, because I can also just do these whole cuts right into my surface, and then actually the trimmed surface I thicken. And the main reason why I do this is currently, well, this is a surface and I trim the surface with a sketch, so why don't I just continue doing that? So maybe I could go to here or there and then create a new sketch from this view. So I just click on the screen and let's say this is now Backrest hole details. Perfect. Good. Maybe I will select a circle because I want to show you something before we continue. I will just put a circle to there. So this circle I will trim and cut this area out. So from here now we can see this is a circle, but because the surface is actually at an angle, you see from here this can look like an ellipse or ellipse. So if we cut, for example, from the top, now we would, if we would make a small circle from here, then we would get a very longituded ellipse. So be careful about from where you cut something. If you really want, for example, to cut a circle into the surface and the cut shape should look like a circle, let's take a look from the side. you see this surface is at an angle, so perpendicular we would need to make a sketch, or parallel to this surface we would need to make a sketch. So unlike in our case where this sketch is actually here and then horizontally we run it through, we need to run it through at an angle that is perpendicular to the surface. And you can see that actually makes things a lot more complicated. That's possible. For our case, we simply will go with rather something simple like this. So maybe put one circle to there, and then we can add actually another one and another one. Let's say all those 3 circles are on a line, and this one I would like to be centered to my world. There. Okay, perfect. Maybe have even distances. And let's add some radii, so maybe 2. Yeah, 2 looks good. So double click, click 2. Now you want what? We make this one 0.5, a little bit smaller. Double click, click this one. And then maybe this one we can set to 3 or 2. Okay, double click and we select this one. So we copy over the values. So now we know, you see we can easily adjust multiples at the same time because we're driving them. Click stop sketch. We end up with this, not a big deal. We just have to undo this. So now we have individual objects. And you see we can actually not trim with multiples at the same time. So we will have actually to do one trim after the next. So you're gone. Trim this one, this. Trim this one and this. Okay, so that works. But you see now here we have 3 trims. Okay, so that works. Now we can also thicken this part. You see actually the surface command follows it, but I kind of blow up my timeline with additional features. So what I will do in this case, I will just delete this feature set and then go to model and select extrude, because with extrude I can select all these 3 profiles, extrude them, and then when they run through the solid, you see, then it works actually as a trim. Click OK, and I only have one command. So you see it's basically the same outcome, however it actually has less features inside the timeline. I will remove this one, so clean up my design, and there we are. Extrusion issue? What? No. Okay. There. I think otherwise. Good. So, last thing let's maybe do is to make this a little bit more comfortable, so we can add, for example, some fillets to it. But before we do this, there is something else I would like to see. So there, we have a pipe command. There are actually some other interesting things we could do. So we have actually now here a nice border. And we could, for example, say section size 0.25 and don't cut, but actually maybe join. So we build a small seam, for example, around it, if we want to. And currently, you see my dimension is set so there is a small gap. So I could either try to be more precise and make this, or not precise, be a little bit more specific and make this just so small it only runs on one side. Or, for example, let's I would have to measure the distance. So this clicked and shift clicked this one. No, 2 lines. It tells me the distance. So 0.57 inches. So now I could go back, go to pipe, select this one, and I don't know if maybe with new body this calculates faster. It does. Can we actually drag this one simply out? No, we can do this. So yeah, 0.75, interesting, the section size. It doesn't line up. I was just curious if maybe we could calculate the correct size. I will just make it a little bit bigger. So you see it actually overlaps this part there. And when we now do a join, we do not really want to see all the different pipes, because I could by accident fuse all these parts together. So all this I hide there, okay. And now I could say join, click OK, and we should be good now. There, and then all those I could show again. Perfect. And then maybe here, these last holes, let's round them a little bit. 0.1. I gave it a fillet that's actually so big and that the results seem to be pretty bad. See, they're kind of overlapping. So maybe 0.5, 0.5 there. We just want to break these edges a little bit. Good. So there is our backrest. So I showed you how then we can use, for example, the loft, which didn't work, but then we can extrude, and the extrude has a taper function. I showed you how we can work with the offset surface and extend surfaces, and then also update the curves actually for our pipes. So we match our pipes then to the backrest, and then how we can style and define the shape of our backrest.